There are some very powerful people who've done their best to cover up what really happened at Bundy Ranch in Clark County, Nevada. Fortunately, they failed. In this video, we're going to present you with evidence of blatant corruption and criminal activities that anyone, including law enforcement, can easily verify. But before we go into the details, it's important to acknowledge here that the political left and the political right are watching this crisis through very different eyes. You on the left saw this old rancher defying the federal government over cattle grazing fees, with right-wing pundits pleading his case and armed militia moving in to intervene. Probably gave you the impression of a Tea Party temper tantrum with guns. Given some of the personalities who were involved in the media circus surrounding this, that impression is perfectly understandable. But underneath the appearances, there's something here that all Americans need to see, whether they consider themselves conservative, liberal, or none of the above. All I ask is that you suspend your preconceived notions of what this crisis was about for 5 minutes. First, let's eliminate some of the disinformation, speculation, and conspiracy theories. Here's a story that a lot of people were spreading around without fact-checking. As of yesterday, it had over 47,000 shares on Facebook alone. That's not views, that's shares. The author claims that the siege of Bundy Ranch was really about fracking leases. That's a provocative narrative, one that I actually found very interesting. But just because something is plausible doesn't mean it's true. For evidence, the article links out to this page on shalereporter.com, which does indeed talk about the Bureau of Land Management, aka BLM, leasing out land in Nevada for fracking. Trouble is, the author and 47,000 other people overlooked the blatantly obvious fact that the land in question is in northeastern Nevada. Clark County isn't in northeastern Nevada. That's not a minor detail. Please, pretty please with a cherry on top, fact check before you spread information, people. Always fact check. Then there was this other line that kept getting spread around. And this is a direct quote. There are developers working for military contractors that want the land and water for mining weapons-grade minerals for industry. They want to sell the land by the highway for real estate development because it's close to I-15. This claim wasn't backed up by even so much as a link. It was pure hearsay. Furthermore, it doesn't even make any sense. Military contractors like Blackwater want land for mining and weapons-grade minerals. To be perfectly honest, I get the impression this story was fabricated by some stoned college kid who thought it would be hilarious to send it to an alternative media outlet as a prank. You gotta admit, as a prank, that's pretty epic. Especially since it worked. A media figure with a fairly decent-sized audience, and I'm not going to name any names, blasted it out to the public without asking for any evidence or even critically examining the claim. A lot of people took that report and started spreading it around. And pretty soon there were people just repeating the narrative, not even knowing where it came from. That's bad. Providing an echo chamber for unfounded rumors and wild speculation is not journalism. The alternative media really needs to tighten their standards of evidence. This is a major problem. Alright, moving along, here we have this story that the showdown in Nevada was really about an underhanded business deal involving Senator Harry Reid, his son, the BLM, and a $5 billion solar energy plant. You probably saw a few people sharing links related to these claims. Let's fact check. Claim number 1. Senator Harry Reid's son, Rory Reid, is the primary representative for the ENN Energy Group, a Chinese energy company involved in a $5 billion solar project planned for Clark County, Nevada, on the very land where the Bundy Ranch is located. First source, Reuters, August 31st, 2012. Well, this is interesting. It turns out the conflicts of interest in this project were well documented, but Harry pushed it through anyway. He even pushed it through in spite of the controversy that was stirred up when the land was sold to ENN for $4.5 million, even though separate appraisals valued the land at between $29.6 and $38.6 million. Claim number 2. Harry Reid put one of his former employees in charge of the Bureau of Land Management and thereby used his leverage in the agency to clear the Bundys off the land. What do they claim as their source? CBS, Las Vegas. That's interesting. Neil Kortz, the current BLM chief, is indeed a former advisor for Harry Reid. And Harry Reid is a Senate Majority Leader, and therefore was directly involved in his confirmation. That's another serious conflict of interest there, considering that BLM is claiming jurisdiction over the land where Rory Reid's company wants to build. But do we have any evidence that Reid actually exercised that influence in the agency to get what he wanted? Well, that brings us to claim number 3. Supposedly, the BLM had posted on their website that they needed to get the Bundy family off the land to make room for the energy project, but the BLM has removed the page. The website that made this claim posted a screenshot split into 2 files and a link to a text version of that page that someone else had copied. To be honest, this is pretty weak. Though it does seem to match the overall narrative here, this would never be admissible in court. But let's dig a little deeper, shall we? What if there's a version of the site cached somewhere on the web? Let's try the Wayback Machine on archive.org. Nope. No dice. Page was never cached on Wayback Machine. Let's try Google's cache. Bingo! Here it is, folks. This is Google's record of what used to be on the site. Non-governmental organizations have expressed concern that the regional mitigation strategy for the Dry Lake Solar Energy Zone utilizes Gold Butte as the location for off-site mitigation for impacts from solar development, and those restoration activities are not durable with the presence of trespass cattle. They specifically refer to the solar project as a justification to seize Clive and Bundy's cattle. Funny thing is, we found the mitigation strategy for the Dry Lake Solar Energy Zone, and guess who wrote it? That would be the BLM. Pretty convenient for Harry Reid, isn't it? Now, I took a screenshot of the Google cache right away. As I'm compiling the information, I go back and I look at it again an hour later. And what do you know? Someone came and took the cached version down from Google. Someone is trying to cover this thing up and fast. But you know what? They missed one. I found this cached version of the page on archive.is. If you follow the link in the description to our website, scgnews.com, you'll find a direct link to this page. I highly recommend that each and every one of you go and verify its contents for yourself before someone has it taken down. But even if they take this last link down, they left a trail. Google server logs will still have a record of the exact date that their cache snapshot was taken. Chances are they still have that snapshot. And you know what? Even if somebody tried to erase it completely, it is very easy for forensic technicians to recover data like this. Even if it seems to be deleted from the system, the digital trace is still there. The BLM servers and every computer involved also have a trail. And trying to remove that trail would leave an even bigger trail. All we need is somebody in law enforcement with a spine. But that's another story, isn't it? This isn't about turtles, folks. It's not even about cattle. This is about money and power. Turns out our little friend Harry Reid has a nice little empire rigged for himself in Nevada. Let's take a look at this article from the LA Times. This is from 2003. Apparently, it's no secret that Harry's way of profiting off of his position is to push through business deals that help his family members. He's got family representing virtually every major industry, and they're doing quite well, thank you very much. Thing is, this is technically not illegal. In fact, it's become the standard way to bribe politicians in the United States. You can't line their pockets directly, but you can line their sons' pockets and their cousins' pockets and their uncles' pockets all you want. However, using a federal agency to seize cattle and to physically intimidate and brutalize a family to facilitate that dirty deal, that's all kinds of illegal. Then they tried to cover up the evidence, and that's also a crime. Again, all we need is a law enforcement officer with a spine. I'll be perfectly honest. When I saw some of the media personalities that were capitalizing on this drama, I was very skeptical. But once I understood what was really going on, I understood right away why people's blood is boiling. Take another look at what happened on that ranch. Imagine Clive Bundy was your father or grandfather. Imagine if his wife was your mother or grandmother. Imagine it was your family whose livelihood was being destroyed by some filthy rich politician who just can't get enough. What happened in Clark County, Nevada, struck a nerve with the American people. But the response that we saw had very little to do with this particular crisis. There is something much deeper brewing under the surface in America. This showdown was just a catalyst. It wasn't the greatest atrocity of the decade or even of the year. I wish that people had felt this moved by the NSA's domestic spying program, or the secret kill list, or the drone program, or the Libyan war, or the Iraq war, or the Afghan war. I wish people had been activated by something bigger than the plight of a cattle rancher. But you know what? We don't get to pick the breaking point. Rosa Parks sparked a civil rights movement with a refusal to sit in the back of the bus. Clive Bundy almost started the Second American Revolution by refusing to let the feds run him over. Now, even knowing the real story, hearing about militia mobilizing all over the country to come physically defend the Bundy family is probably still very disconcerting for many progressives. This was a very dangerous situation. A lot of people could have ended up dead. But consider this. Remember back in 2011 when riot police swooped in to brutally crush the Occupy movement? Remember how you felt? No one stood up for them. No one fought back. And what was the result? The thugs won. The media quickly switched to a new distraction, and the public forgot. Imagine if it had been different. Imagine if the people swarmed in from all over the country, not to wave signs in the air, but to stand up for your rights, even if they disagreed with you politically. That didn't happen, but it should have. It's been said that the enemy of your enemy is your friend. Trouble is, the people of the United States have been a bit confused about who the enemy really is. You've been allowing a thuggish, out-of-control corporate-owned government to persecute your ideological rivals, not realizing that someday that same boot will be grinding your face into the pavement. And all the while, your common enemy, your real enemy, gets stronger and more aggressive, more lawless, more blatantly corrupt as we dance this left-right, two-step to tyranny. They've been playing you guys like a fiddle, but the sleeping giant is starting to wake up, and they are scared to death of you. Now, as for Harry Reid, he may just be one rotten apple in a barrel full of rotten apples, but he needs to be brought to justice. To all of you out there who call yourself law enforcement, the American people are putting down a line in the sand. If you don't stand up for justice, if you do not hold these scumbags accountable for their crimes, if you do not at least raise your voice and take a public stand, then you are an accomplice. You are discrediting the entire framework of law and order, and you are giving the people a clear mandate to remove you from your office. If you agree, then send this video to every person that you know, especially to police, military, and veterans. Send it to your congressman, send it to your local news station, to your local newspaper, to your local radio station. You have permission to download this video and distribute and present it in any venue, commercial or non-commercial, under the condition that the content is not altered, shortened, or added to in any way. To make it easier, we're providing a direct download link on our website, scgnews.com. If you want more content like this, subscribe to Storm Clouds Gathering on YouTube. You can find Storm Clouds Gathering and SCG News on Facebook, Twitter, and Google+. And on our website, you can sign up for email updates to get notified anytime new content is added.